So let's talk about Mula Bandha. What is it? Why do we do it? And what exactly is going on? So the subject of Mula Bandha is a little bit complicated by the fact that different traditions and yoga styles use it in different ways. So let's talk about what it is originally. So Mula Bandha is an energetic lock or a seal. And yes, it is related to the physical action involving the pelvic floor in the body. There's a lifting up of the bottom here. But the intention of Mula Bandha is energetic. So in other words, it's a lock or a seal to kind of harness the pranic energy of the body and direct it up. Uddiyana Bandha, which is the navel lock, higher up means literally flying up. And there's an intention to pull the energy up from the base and pull it up here either to burn in the digestifier or to help move the energy up Sushumna Nadi to the crown. So there are different meditation and pranic techniques that are associated with the engagement of Mula Bandha and the other bandhas. However, we've started to conflate Mula Bandha with lifting of the pelvic floor. And although these two things are related, I do think it's useful for us as teachers to have some discrimination about when we mean lift the pelvic floor in a physical kind of way, and when we're doing a practice involving Mula Bandha, which has an energetic intention to move prana in the body. So you will often see Mula Bandha used during a pranayama practice, right? It's like, again, kind of like lifting the floor up here to move energy. But it also gets used in Ashtanga, because Ashtanga kind of puts all the energetic and the physical work together into one. So they do engage Mula Bandha the whole time. And I think that's one of the reasons that people are confusing just lifting the pelvic floor, a physical action, with Mula Bandha, which to my mind has more of an energetic intention, more of an internal intention. So that said, let's talk about Mula Bandha a little bit and what exactly is happening and what are we doing. So not many yoga traditions might parse this out. They might just say, oh, Mula Bandha, you're lifting the pelvic floor. But as we've seen, the pelvic floor has different components to it. It's not just a floor, it's a funnel, and it's complicated. So what exactly is happening? So I'm going to take my lead from Bernie Clark here, who has done a nice deep dive into what exactly is going on in the explanation of Mula Bandha. So Mula Bandha would be the engagement of that centerpiece. So if you recall, we have the anterior pelvic floor, which is the urogenital triangle. That's the part that we can feel most keenly when we're stopping the flow of urine, like a Kegel exercise. Then there's the back of the pelvic floor, Ashwini Mudra, right? The horse mudra, which is engaging the anal sphincter. Mula Bandha is that place in between. So for women, we feel it lifting the vagina. It's like an engagement all the way up into the cervix. And for men, it's that space between the anus and the scrotum. So the perineal body, kind of right in the center. That is what we might most clearly identify as Mula Bandha. And so when we are engaging Mula Bandha, and also keep in mind, it is a more subtle practice. So when we're working with prana, for example, sitting in pranayama, Mula Bandha, it's not like we want to clamp this thing, right? It's a subtle lift to direct subtle energy. So when we're first working with Mula Bandha or exploring these different bandhas in the body, sure, we might engage them a lot to try to get a sense of it and what's going on. But over time, as you grow more proficient in feeling into these different parts of your body, become a little bit more subtle about it. So you might practice like, okay, here's my 10, but what is it like to actually engage at a 1 or a 2? So we want to become a little bit more sensitive to the effects that the engagement of this musculature has in our body. Now, just physically speaking, we're doing our yoga asana, etc. Mula Bandha, if we were going to call it that, or the pelvic floor, will naturally engage as part of our inherent mechanism of support. That said, it is useful to do pelvic floor exercises. For example, if you're a woman who's had a kid, well, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened to the pelvic floor during birth. Pelvic floor exercises can be super useful. Doing pelvic floor exercises can be useful for everyone so that we have a sense of this part of our body and the intrinsic support that it can provide us, and obviously to our viscera. So what I'll suggest is that as you start to play with Mula Bandha in your practice, is to explore it in all these different levels. Explore, first of all, lifting the pelvic floor in these 3 different platforms. Explore what it's like to engage just Mula Bandha, and then explore how you can do these on different ranges so that you become more facile and connected to this part of your body. When we teach, and this will be up to you, but I think it's important to not just give a blanket cue to our students like lift your pelvic floor or engage Mula Bandha. Those are terms that, even if it might seem obvious to us after a while, can really just create a lot of blank faces. People don't necessarily know how to engage their pelvic floor, and people certainly don't know what we mean by Mula Bandha. So as we start to bring this into our own practice, find ways that you can help make these terms, if you're going to use them, more accessible and familiar to your students so that they know what you're talking about. So there's a common language around what these different things mean. Lifting your pelvic floor might seem as mysterious as, go to Mars or lift Mula Bandha. Lifting your pelvic floor isn't actually something that's commonplace for everybody. So if we're going to start bringing those kinds of cues into the yoga practice, which could be useful, we want to just make sure that we give our students plenty of an opportunity to learn what exactly that means. So we're going to do a short breathing exercise because for me, I feel like this is most nicely correlated to energetic flow and the movement of energy in our bodies. So come into a nice tall seat. And if it doesn't feel comfortable to sit on the floor, sit on a chair, sit on a bolster, sit on a block. It's just something so that your spine can be nice and tall. We want to allow our rib cage to be nicely centered over the pelvis. And then let your shoulders just relax and your hands come down onto your thighs. Close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. And first, just working on this idea of engaging Mula Bandha just on its own. So coming back to our exploration before, you remember we have the 3 parts of the pelvic floor, the front, the middle, and the back. So bring your attention more to the center. And just in isolation, because it's a little different to do it while we're sitting than when we're laying down. On your exhale, see if you can find a nice little lift right through the center of your pelvic floor. So for the men out there, this will be between the scrotum and the anus. And for ladies, you can think of the area of the cervix. So lifting in and up, and then letting it go. And then see if you can lift it, relax the front of the pelvic floor, relax the back of the pelvic floor, and just engage the middle. Hold for a couple of seconds, and then relax. And take a couple of easy breaths. And this time, one more time, when we're going to hold it for 5 counts. So take a nice easy inhale. Exhale out. Lift the center of the pelvic floor. And keep breathing here as we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and let it go 1. Adding this onto a simple breath exercise, what we'll do is we'll inhale, exhale out, and then as you inhale, we'll lift Mula Bandha on the inhale, and then as we exhale, we'll let it go. So remember, it's just as important to be able to let the pelvic floor go as it is to engage it. And we'll just try that for a few rounds of breath and see how it feels. So lift up nice and tall through your spine, relax your jaw. Let your hips relax, relax your belly. Take a slow breath in. And exhale all the way out. And as you inhale, lift the pelvic floor as you inhale for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale, let it go. 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, inhaling, lifting the pelvic floor up. 4, 3, 2, 1. And releasing out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling again. 1, lifting the pelvic floor. 2, 3 and 4. Exhaling, 4, 3, 2, 1. And lifting the pelvic floor up, 4, 3, 2, 1. This time, keep the pelvic floor lifted as you exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue breathing, light lift of the pelvic floor, and just noticing, like, if the pelvic floor is on like a 10, can you soften that so the holding is lighter, becomes more subtle? And then we'll add that visualization of Sushumna Nadi to this. So as you inhale, visualize a nice white light traveling from the base of your pelvic floor up the front of your spine to the top of your head. And then as you exhale, visualize that light traveling down the back of your spine to the bottom. And there's just that little lift of Mula Bandha, kind of like a gathering in and up to help lift that energy as it moves up your spine. And we'll do one more round. And this time, as you inhale, visualizing that light traveling up to the top of your spine, at the very top, hold your breath in, drop your chin just slightly. This is Jalandhar Bandha, and visualize that light just at the crown of your head. Hold on the inhale. Release your chin. Exhale, let it go. Release Mula Bandha. Let your belly soften and just take a couple of easy breaths. When you're ready, softly open your eyes. So that's one way, one of many ways that we might utilize Mula Bandha as part of a pranayama practice or a visualization practice to help harness and move energy, move prana through our body. So again, Mula Bandha, it's a lifting of the center of the pelvic floor. And generally speaking, it's designed and its purpose is to help with the movement and the sustaining of prana in our body. So if we do use it in the class and we do mean just the physical action of lifting the pelvic floor, then it's a good thing to explain to our students exactly what I mean so that everybody can be on the same page with what we're doing. This is a part of the body that might take years to cultivate a relationship with and refine and explore. So take your time, and I hope this is a good start on this journey of Mula Bandha and the pelvic floor.